Center in Barcelona, Spain. It's theCUBE at HP Discover Barcelona 2014. Brought to you by headline sponsor HP.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We are here live in Barcelona, in Europe, for HP Discover 2014. This is theCUBE, our flagship program. We go out to the events, extract the signal to noise. I'm John Furrier with my co-host Dave Vellante. Our next guest is Andy Weinberger, who is the General Manager and Vice President of Augmented Reality and Multi-Channel Optimization for HP. Welcome to theCUBE.
Thanks so much.
Love the title. Augmented Reality, Multi-Channel. This is the cloud era, right? You can do a lot of things now that's possible. So explain to the folks what that means. Obviously augmented reality, we see wearables, all these new things happening, a lot of software behind the scenes, from business cards to whatever. Talk about what is augmented reality and multi-channel from your perspective.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I think especially marketers are really looking for SaaS solutions, and that's kind of where we're going in the marketing optimization group under HP Software. The two products that I look after are completely SaaS-based. So augmented reality is, it sounds like a very geeky sci-fi term. I think it's a really simple concept, actually, of bridging the physical world with the digital world. So being able to, take your phone and through our app or our technology plugged into another app, actually just hold it over an object, an image, or a location and get a really engaging, interactive experience.
So it must be exciting for you in your job because you're at the intersection of big data, large-scale compute. We're now in that era where we have all this stuff and now software on top of it enables a lot of cool things. So, what are some of the cool things you're working on? Give some examples of how, augmenting reality, which is a virtual space, and we're broadcasting here from a physical space into a virtual space, and then multi-channel is now long-tail distribution on everything. You could test a variety of combinations, so you have a big data challenge, and you have, unlimited, essentially, compute, if you're talking about SaaS. So, explain some exciting things that you're working on.
Yeah, actually, Andrew Joyner and I were talking with a customer recently, and it was a bank, and they're really kind of taking from the perspective of their store, and their focus is no longer kind of the presence of the actual bank. It's their website. That's where their customers go. That's where they get their information, and so. What's great about that is that there is, as you say, kind of a lot of data underneath that. Customers are constantly telling us what they want to see, what they're interested in, and all we have to do is listen. The hard part is taking that data and making sense of it, and that's what we focus on, is grabbing data from all the different places, social, the actual website, call center, and taking it and making a very relevant, targeted experience.
It's interesting. Dave and I are big students of digital media. The transformation that's happening, we're part of, and the things that you're working on really speaks to this really big digital transformation where with big data, with cloud, with SaaS, you can now have a digital component to all aspects of the business you mentioned, merging in customer support to go-to-market, selling stuff. So there's a variety of spectrum. So everything's now digital. So the digital experience with the consumerization is a real trend, and it's people are now realizing I don't need this siloed product tool. So you're seeing a kind of an integration challenge around tooling. Hey, this used to be my listening tool, this is my customer service app, and I have data, and now those are lifting up into this kind of common, unified approach. Do you see it that way, and what are some of the things that you see your customers challenged with in this digital transformation?
Yeah, so I think having multiple channels is still very, very important. Customers want to be able to interact in many different ways with their vendors and their partners, but the important thing is making that a seamless experience. So, there should be no difference in the information or the experience, whether you are calling into the call center, going to the website, or interacting on social media, or receiving a statement in the mail. It should all have the exact same information and all be relevant to that person. And that's where the big data comes in. So being able to leverage all of that data and provide the very consistent experience across all those channels.
So what is the big data autonomy? Is it an autonomy solution? What do you guys? What makes up your products that you're selling?
So I think big data in itself just exists. We leverage it across all of the different software portfolios. So we're focused on leveraging big data for marketers and being able to talk to our customers and engage our customers in a way that's meaningful. And I think that marketers are kind of the tip of the spear that are leading the charge in that respect.
I just wrote a post on Forbes this past week called the Marketing Cloud, and really talking about Oracle and obviously their challenge there. And you got Oracle, Guadalupe, you got Salesforce, you got LinkedIn now going into this Marketing Cloud concept. Essentially what you're talking about is marketing, digital cloud, if you will. What's the landscape like for you guys, competitive-wise? Is that Oracle? Is it other people? What are your key competitors?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's got to go to the cloud. A lot of people are talking now about moving to the cloud. The good news is we've been there for a while. So I've always managed the SaaS solutions. They've been around for about 10 years. They've always been SaaS-based, cloud-based. And so I think, depending on what the customer's looking for, it could be Oracle, it could be Salesforce, but I don't think it's like a cloud. That's just what everyone has to get to, and it's kind of who can get there first.
It's kind of a no-brainer. So it's like, some people just say they're trying to get sales solutions, kind of think Salesforce, okay, funneling names into a database, their workflow, to different digital solutions. You mentioned the multi-channel optimization, algorithmically having variations. Is there a lot of different separation points between some of the digital things that you're seeing out there? Is that how I should look at it? How should people look at this? It's kind of confusing. Like, well, is it for sales leads or is it for customer experience? You know what I'm saying? It's hard to figure that out.
I mean, I think, sales has always had, and I think Salesforce does a great job because it's a very defined way of tracking a lead. I think that when you're looking at the broader life cycle of a customer, once they kind of become your customer, how do you interact with them? And that's kind of where we focus. It obviously can be used for the acquisition phases as well, the communications that goes out to gather those customers, but really the whole life cycle.
So I got to ask you the question about retargeting, or when I go to a web page, I go hit the Hilton site, look for a vacation, no rooms available. Then I go to Facebook and all of a sudden I see Hilton ads all over the place. I'm like, but I really don't want to see that. So that's kind of a big data problem. Probably it works well in click-throughs, but actually I'm not interested in that product. So this whole retargeting thing has been kind of an interesting conversation. Is that good or bad, or is there any innovations to make that better?
I mean, I don't think there's good or bad. It's all generational mainly, that what people want to see or what they don't want to see. But I think that it comes down to kind of how it's treated and constantly learning. So that if you do retarget to somebody and they're not clicking on that they might not appreciate it, and they might think it's a little big brothery. But some people really appreciate that because maybe they dropped the browser and they lost their place. So I think it's just about listening to customers, constantly learning and testing to make sure that you're doing the right thing.
So, Andy, let's talk about your products, because you run two cool products, Aurasma and Optimost.
Yes.
So let's start with Aurasma. Well, explain each of those, and then let's get into it.
Okay, so Aurasma is HP's augmented reality platform. We have an app as well as an SDK that we provide for customers to put in their app. And it's, as I mentioned, allows them to do augmented reality. So they can take their advertising, their catalogs, their marketing materials, their statements, and essentially light those up so that when you hold your phone or tablet over that image, it provides a kind of a link to anything digital. So you can take them to an educational video, you can have a quiz, you can provide them more information. It's a very interactive and engaging experience.
So what are you seeing in terms of how having that experience powered by Aurasma, how does that differ from sort of a traditional engagement? Can you share any metrics? I mean, are you seeing, presumably you're seeing higher rates of engagement. I mean, that's why you would do this, right? So how high? What are you seeing in the field?
It's actually kind of unbelievable. I've been doing this a while and looking at conversion rates and other products. The conversion rates that our customers see using Aurasma is astronomical. We have, for instance, Office Depot uses it in-store and on their catalogs and in their advertisements, and they got about 150% increase in conversion by leveraging Aurasma. AMC theaters also kind of lit up every single movie poster, so you could watch the trailer when you're waiting in the lobby. Right. And then if you wanted to, either reserve tickets for that film or buy tickets right there, it would use the geolocation to find the nearest theater to you, and you could buy tickets, and they had a 75% click-through rate on that. So,
75% click-through rate?
Yes, yeah, on purchasing those tickets. So, it's such an engaging and tailored experience that it's getting these amazing ROI numbers.
Well, in that theater example, you're probably not even measuring. There wasn't even a click-through rate before. It was just sort of, okay, there's a post their advert, so you don't even know what the conversion was. So,
I mean, they were kind of checking on their versus their website, so being able to just people browsing through films, and then do they buy or
maybe
not?
You're stumbling upon it. Okay, and then Optimost is all about multivariate testing,
Yes.
A/B testing.
Yeah.
Which, of course, A/B testing was all the rage. Test, fail, test again. But it's hard to sometimes set up a test and do different iterations, and then you kind of get exhausted and say, all right, just pick the best one of the N that we did.
Yeah.
So how does Optimost help that problem?
I mean, Optimus has been doing this for about 15 years, and I think what we provide, besides the kind of core technology and the algorithm that finds the best combination of images and creative, is we have a team of experts who have been doing this forever. So it's actually a full SaaS offering. We'll do all the tests for you. We can just kind of take over your website with one line of code, run the test, we can target your website, we can test to segments, do adaptive targeting, and it's all done with the idea that we've been doing this for so long, we know what the benchmarks are, and we can guide people in the right direction of where they might be able to kind of improve the lift.
So that's interesting. So the business model is it's a service as a service?
Exactly.
Right.
Kind of managed service.
So you bring in, okay, so how does that work? So I have my objectives, this is what I want to do, I want to optimize my website for X, and then you say, great, give us the assets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll play with
Build
it.
a test and run it until we get the right results and
I get to look over your shoulder
Can we
and
get a
see all the
demo?
results.
Yeah, you
Can we get a demo account? We love this product.
I know.
Exactly, yeah.
So, okay, and it's you say it's always been a SaaS-based offering, is that
Yes,
right? Or-
yeah.
Okay, so these are two of the core pieces of the SaaS products that Meg always talks about on the call. I wanted to ask you, so you sell to marketing executives, obviously,
Yes.
you know, the CMO. How is selling to that role changing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're hearing a lot about it, and I'm hearing it everywhere I go, every customer I talk to, that the marketing budget, I think this year, if not next year, will surpass the CIO budget. They're really the drivers now of all the decisions, like what tools we need, how are we going to bring in revenue, and that's what the marketer's role is. And so, IT is becoming a very strong supporting role in that, but less making decisions on what the products are, especially as we move more into cloud-based offerings.
So, okay, so that's cool. And then, but the challenge that marketers have always had is they want to spend on technology. They have to spend on technology, but they got to go through the technology department to do that. Presumably, a SaaS-based offering, in part anyway, helps resolve that. So I wonder if you can talk about that dynamic.
Yeah, so I mean, and even on the Erasmus side, we just launched our studio store. So the way that you can actually access Erasmus is you go to join a studio account, which lets you build your own, what we call auras. So anyone can go out there and build it. We have thousands and thousands of kids doing it every day, so I know it's pretty easy to do. And you can actually purchase with a credit card right through the Erasmus store. So the marketers can completely bypass any approvals through IT. They can buy what they need for their campaign and run that all through Erasmus.
And you mentioned you sell Erasmus as either an app or you've got an SDK.
Yes.
How are people using the software development kit?
So they're using that to embed the technology into their own app. And so if you have, like the Discover app here, we have the scheduling, you have where, what sessions are, and then part of that is augmented reality. So you can enter kind of that area of the app, and that can be able to link anything within.
Do most of your customers sort of move in that direction, or are they just taking the off-the-shelf app? Or?
Yeah, I mean, some customers, if they don't have an app and they don't want to build one, we can skin one for them. A lot will host their campaign in the Erasmus app because we have a lot of followers anyway, so they're getting the benefit of those users that already have it downloaded. But I think more and more people are trying to build apps that are meaningful, and so adding ways to kind of bridge into the digital world that's not a straight URL, but kind of more of an engaging experience. I think a lot of people are moving in that direction.
So I wonder if you could talk about how you guys compete, how the competition, how you stack up to the competition, and kind of what HP brings that's different.
So I mean, I think Erasmus was kind of like first to market for this.
Yeah,
so
right. You don't have competition.
Exactly. So we hold a lot of patents, which is always great to have, especially in emerging technology. So I think we have a really good footprint. So we have 80,000 customers now, and that we do have the broad case of not only having our own app, but being able to provide that SDK so people can embed it in their app. So it's a really broad offering. I think that having the HP labs and the HP backing has allowed us to kind of keep up with the competition in that sense.
And is there a developer angle here? I mean, obviously, when you talk SDK, you've got developers. How do you guys approach those developers? And do you have are you building out a community? I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think developers definitely leverage augmented reality. I think any emerging tech developers like to play around with, because who knows what it could be. And it's a pretty innovative core technology. So we work with developers and provide them the SDK, and they play around with the tech. I know that the Sprout team in labs got an early copy when they were working on theirs to see what they could do with Erasma within the Sprout system as well.
How about kind of your to-do list? What are customers asking you to do in the future? I mean, broadly, don't give us a roadmap. But.
I mean, when I think about augmented reality, it's really moving in the direction of kind of replacing search. So right now, you walk around the world and you see, a billboard or a poster or something you want more information on, and you have to open up a search text box and type in text, and you get more text thrown back at you. So any way we can kind of remove that sense where if you see something you want more information on, put your phone at it, or your wearable devices, if you're wearing glasses or a watch, point that and then get more information that's highly tailored. So it's taking away the need to figure out, translate what that is into a text word and type it into a box.
Yeah, so there's huge retail opportunities here, I would think.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. A lot of retail, a lot of publishing, education.
Healthcare even?
But healthcare, I mean, it's kind of, any time you want to link anything physical to the digital world, you think of also part of the marketing optimization group is Extreme, which pretty much manages and prints every statement you've ever gotten at your home. And they always put a URL on that statement, forcing you kind of to go to the website and maybe check out a promotion or get some more information. Instead, now you can just point your phone at that statement, and it gives you immediate link to everything that you need.
So how's the adoption going in terms of market? Is it classic early adopter? How many? You said 80,000 customers you have.
80,000.
That's a huge number of customers. I mean, I think people have 11,000 in SaaS. They go public. I mean, 80,000 is pretty. I wouldn't say early adopters. Are they early adopters? Are they more mainstream?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand, because I love the product already and I want to use it. So how do I get started if I was interested? The first early adopter or not?
Yeah, no, I think we're just past early adopter probably. The early adopters were probably publishing and retail and educators. I think the educator piece is interesting. It goes to kind of just the behavior of students. They're so device plugged in already that it was a way for them to talk in a meaningful way. But I think we're just past that now, and it is getting to healthcare, manufacturing, CPG. Everyone's kind of looking at this rather than just the early adopters.
So you guys are nailing what I call the preferred user experience in the future, this mobile-like environment. People want engaging experiences.
Yes.
And that's cool, right? So who doesn't like that, right? So take us through where the sectors are. For instance, publishing. Let's just say we want to take theCUBE and have a web page that was more dynamic, more cooler, more augmented. With a variety of elements. What would we do?
It is super, super easy. As I said, if you just create a studio account, erasma.studio.com, and you can build an aura in less than 30 seconds by uploading what you want to trigger, the trigger image, putting an overlay on top of that, whether it's a video or, some people do 3D objects, if you have that skill. And
whatever clickbait you want.
And then you kind of just hit submit, and it's automatically built and stored in our cloud, and then it works immediately.
And mobile, it's all mobile aware, mobile first environment,
yeah.
So it's independent of platform.
Yeah, so Android and iOS.
And not web. It works on the web too? Browsers?
Yeah, you can work on a browser.
Yeah, so that's easy. That was last decade. But all pretty much mobile, Android and iOS.
Android and iOS, yeah.
And publishers are adopting this?
They were kind of the first adopters. Now it's pretty much any industry out there.
What's the pricing look like? So how much would it cost?
So it's a subscription-based offering. It's based on the length of the campaign and the number of what we call auras, which is essentially cloud storage. So you can buy an annual subscription, monthly subscription, and then how many auras that you're going to build and how interactive they are. So it's on a scale.
Are people typically running campaigns for, what's the typical length? Is it evergreen or?
Yeah, most people buy an annual subscription because the great news is because it's a web-based platform, you can dynamically swap the content out in the back end. So they're just building the auras and they might change it over through their campaigns.
And renewal rates, I mean, if I can
Yeah, pretty high.
with that, pretty high?
Yeah. With the ROI that people are saying, it's,
I mean, so, different model, right? Traditional software world, you buy a perpetual license and you live off of maintenance. The SaaS world, totally different. Good news is, HP doesn't have a huge software business, so you don't have to worry about that transition like a lot of companies. But so there's two metrics, right? I'm sure there's many, but it's the renewal rate and then sort of the ability to increase the contract value, if you will, the subscription value. So are you able to cross-sell other products in there, and are you able to see annually average prices go up?
I mean, I think there's also adoption in there. I think there's a large part of the population that we can get. So, but upselling current customers, we can definitely, it's doing more with the product. We also have a way to target certain auras, which I think is, kind of further down the road, but it's still built in already. We're already ahead of the game, but being able to, you'll see something different if you target it on the East Coast versus myself on the West Coast. So giving kind of those different attributes to it.
So the market has got to be enormous for these products. I mean, can you talk about the TAM at all, or how do you
I mean, the report came out pretty recently that said that it's going to be $1 billion by, I think, 2018. And just to give some perspective on how fast that's growing, last year they said 108 million. So by a factor of 10, it's increased in just a year. And I even think that's pretty low, but just considering what this technology is able to do, it's really only limited by the behavior. And I always go back to all of the students that are using it today. It's such a core part of their learning experience and their everyday experience that the next generation coming up is going to kind of demand augmented reality be part of how we're selling to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that stat, I think it's a Gartner figure that CIOs or CMOs are going to spend more than CIOs. Is that on marketing solutions, or is that in general?
I think it's on running the business. I also think marketing's getting a kind of more responsibility, I would say, within a company. So before it was, maybe PR and advertising, and now they're considered the owner of the customer and the customer experience.
So the number of $1 billion by 2018, that's what's going to be spent, but the potential is tens of billions.
And that's just on AR.
Right. I mean, that's.
But the digital spend is actually increasing as an overall number.
Yeah, that's much bigger.
So, I mean, it's the overall.
So let's talk about engagement. One of the things we're always talking about in theCUBE is, as we broadcast that, we don't really lock the users into any sort of click. It's all free content, right? So, but engagement, something we see a lot of engagement. That's what everyone's talking about right now is engagement. Yep. Give me the engagement, and you build an engaging product. Yes. So you're in that business. So what's your take on engagement? Where are we in that business model? Is it going to be new technologies coming out? This is one of them. What's the myths around engagement? It's like now becoming the holy grail.
Yeah, I mean, I think before, being a marketer or being in business, it was fairly easy to control engagement because they had to come into your shop or call you, and you could very much control that one-on-one engagement with a customer. Measure it and understand it. And I think that, it became really, really difficult for the last, 10, 15 years with the web and social. And now, people want reviews from other people that aren't you. They want to talk to everyone else but you before they talk to you about your product. So they're coming in knowing a lot of things you might not know what they know, and everyone's starting from a different touch point, and there's so many different places to interact with a brand, and that the marketer can't really control it. So it all gets back to understanding what those interactions are, understanding what's being said, so that we can continue the engagement.
That brings your whole multi-channel into a whole other dimension, really, if you think about it. If the customers are talking about you before they talk to you, that creates multiple channels within that channel. So you already have multi-channel marketing things to work on. Now you have sub-channels, if you will.
Yeah, and every interaction becomes very important, because if you have a bad review with someone, they can tell 20 million people like that.
So you got to get out front on that and have the technology to do that. What's your advice to customers that when I'm a CMO and now I'm being pulled into, okay, the spend is now going to be increased for social and these new engagement platforms. So I don't know what to do. I'm getting pitched from all these different vendors. I got Oracle banging on my door. I got Salesforce. I got Mintigo. I got you guys. I got a lot of noise coming at me. So how do you clarify that? How would you?
I mean, I think it comes from not doing kind of inside-out marketing, where you look at kind of where are channels that we manage, or what's our message, but look at kind of how people are interacting with content and information, and try to catch them there. I always kind of say I started off kind of in the web world when people were just building websites, and I was selling software to do that, and it was trying to convince people to build a website. And at the time, we thought only the biggest companies are really going to have websites.
Yeah. Well, that's webs for kids. No one. Yeah, it's not relevant.
That's just going to be your American Airlines or Bank of America. But it was, now you have a wedding and you build a website for that one event. So it's become so common.
So let's take that to social. So social media is the same. This is our comments all the time on theCUBE. The web was laughed at. Oh, there's no ROI on the web. All of a sudden, boom, digital's born. Google, all this stuff's happening. Search behind it. So web's pretty much a done deal. We all see value in that. Social's the same kind of critique. It's almost an echo of the early days of the web. Like, oh, social media is just buzz. There's no real ROI there. So everyone's kind of like, where's the ROI? So are you seeing similar things? And what would you advise clients as that believe, hey, no, social is very important. I just can't prove it yet fully from a sales transaction. Do you see that as a similar trend, parallel kind of metaphor? And if so, what advice would you give big time CMOs or small businesses?
Yeah, and I think you have to think of it less as, we have to maintain our store and our website and kind of the company out communication, and go where people are having conversations. So people are, on Twitter and Facebook and all the social medias, and they are using augmented reality, and it becomes, we have to embrace those, because otherwise the consumer is leading the way, and we're not providing the information in the places where they're already interacting.
And being relevant too.
Yep.
Annie, thanks for coming on theCUBE. Really appreciate it. Fascinating conversation. Obviously, digital marketing is just more than selling stuff. It's creating great user experiences in the moment, immersive, relevant, and it's a big data cloud opportunity. Thanks for coming on HP. It's a great solution. We'll be right back. We're here inside theCUBE, live in Barcelona. I'm John Furrier with Dave Vellante. We'll be right back.